Hi chickens, I'm back. I'm here to do my February reading wrap up part 1, and I'm doing this like a day early, but it's because I know the second half of the month is super short, but also I have a week off, so I'm hoping I get a lot of reading done. So I don't want my vlogs to be, or this video to be too long, but then again my other video was like so short, so hopefully it doesn't backfire and I don't not read anything the second half of the month, but I don't think that will happen. So let's talk about stats, the books that I read, and any other things I'm going to chat about, and then we'll be done. But it has been a pretty good reading month, I will say. I did read Onyx Storm. I'm in a bit of a book hangover, but let's talk about the stats first. So I'm a stats girly. I'm always going to be a stats girly, and I get all of these stats from Cassidy's spreadsheet. So yeah, let's get into it. I read 8 books in the month of February for an average page count of 2,761. Average pages a day was 89 pages. Average page count is 345. I read a lot of fantasy romance. I had no 5 stars technically, but technically Onyx Storm is in here, so we're gonna say 1 5-star. I had 3 4-star, 3 3.5-star, 1 3-star for an average rating of 3.19. Technically, I finished Onyx Storm in the last day of January, but I am counting it in this review because I didn't get to do it because I filmed it a little bit early. I read 6 from last year, 2 backlist. I read 2 physical, 5 audio, no mixed media, and 1 ebook. Again, you could technically count Onyx Storm as mixed media, but I think it was in January that I put that book in. I continued in 4 series. A series started was 4. I continued in 2. I caught up in 1, and I read 2 standalone, and I read 1 companion. I read 1 middle grade, 1 YA, 5 0 young new adult, and 6 adult. I read 2 arcs, 2 from Audible, and then 4 owned, and I think that's it. Yeah. I read 2 fantasy romance, 1 nonfiction, 2 fantasy, 1 mystery, 1 companion, 1 romance. And I think that's it. I will say I am in a bit of a book hangover for Onyx Storm, so it has been a bit of a weird reading month. And also this past week I haven't felt like listening to anything. I've been dealing with a small sinus infection, so that has sort of sucked. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, Onyx Storm. I actually gave my copy to my friend to borrow from work because she wasn't sure she wanted to buy it, so I gave her my copy. So let's attach the photo here. I gave this book 5 stars. I thought it was such a good installment in this series. I had a lot of complaints with Iron Flame, but I think this is definitely a series that I need to like fully immersion read because I think that helped the process so much more for me. And I just love the characters. I don't think that this was a romance book. So I think if you were going into this book expecting a romance-centered story, I don't think you're going to get it, and I don't think you're going to like it, and that's why I think this book has either 5 or 2 stars. I think that people do not like the story of this, but I think this was a world-building book. I like the characters. I loved all the side characters. It was heartbreaking. There were moments, and I don't cry when I read, but there was a couple moments in the story that really, really tugged at my heartstrings. I got to the end, and it wasn't the worst cliffhanger I've ever read, but I do have a lot of questions. It's definitely a series that I want to go back and reread when I'm not like crunched for time. So I gave this book 5 stars. And now we're going through the Get a Clue readathon books. So the way that I kind of did it is I was sort of reading 2 books for every prompt. And then when a prompt finished, I would move on to bonus books. So I'm just going to link Rainy because it's all her chaos. She creates all this chaos. But the first book we had to read was a book that had a like cozy adjective. So I picked up The Wicked and Beautiful Garden by Katie McGarry. I'll attach a photo here. Romance, and to be honest with you, I didn't like it. I struggled with this book. I only gave it 3 stars. I don't know if I'm gonna finish this series, but I will say this. I have read stuff by Katie McGarry before. I have read her other books. I have read her YA stuff. I've read her contemporaries, and I went into this book expecting to like it a lot more than I did, and I just didn't, unfortunately. I really struggled with this. It was boring, and honestly, it was a book that I read that existed. The plot is not that memorable, to be very honest, and I can't really talk too much about it because I don't have a firm memory of it. I know it's definitely like a fae fantasy romance. I know that it's quick. I know it has cozy vibes. The characters did not feel that attached, and I just know that there's a character. She kind of has to work with her ex-boyfriend to kind of get the heir or the savior of this realm because it's about to be born, and that's it. And I just did not feel connected to anyone. So I only gave this book 3 stars. I don't know if I'm going to keep going with the series, but just know it was not a favorite of mine. So yeah, the second book that I read, technically the first book, Forget a Clue. And then the way that Clue works is after you get into your room, you can read a bonus book and you have to spin a wheel and do a prompt. So my next prompt was I had to read a book from an author that I've never read before. So I picked From Here to Beyond by Lisa Marie Presley and her daughter Riley Keough, which is basically about Lisa Marie Presley's life. So I'll attach a photo here. Great nonfiction, but I thought this was very, very interesting. It was kind of like 3 different stories because you kind of got Riley's life story a little bit. You got her mom's, and then you got like, you know, just the family in general. And I thought it was interesting. After this, I like went down a deep dive and kind of watched a bunch of Riley's videos and like interviews and stuff. I thought it was interesting. I like celebrity memoirs just because I think that they're interesting, compelling. I don't rate nonfiction, but I thought the audiobook was very, very well done. You got to hear Lisa Marie's voice, even though she has sadly passed away, her daughter, and then you also got to hear Julia Roberts doing Lisa Marie. So that was great. 4 stars, and that was for a book by an author that I hadn't read before. And then the next book that I read, I don't remember where we went, but I know it had to be a book that had glass or windows on the cover, but it also had to have like an even number of numbers and like letters in the title for my book, for my group anyway. So I read The Delicate Dream Department Store by Miley, and I struggled with this book. This book I felt like was a series of short stories that just did not connect enough to me. I didn't really like the main character, and again, I feel like all of these books that I'm going to talk about, I didn't like the characters, and I didn't feel connected to the characters. And that's kind of where I'm struggling right now. No characters I'm reading are really hitting. But this was fine. Like, I liked it. It's a cozy fantasy book, but like, it's very much more slice of life. There's not a lot of plot in this. I didn't like it. I didn't love it. I don't know if I'm going to read the next book, but it was fun. If you need something for like a quick readathon, it is like barely 300 pages. But the characters weren't that hit. You basically it's like basically an apartment store about dreams and people getting their dreams. And it just didn't hit. So I only gave this book 3 stars. And then the next book I had to read was a book that had a pattern on the cover. I don't remember what room that one was for either. I am so sorry. But I read Meringues and Mermaids from the Sugar Shack Mystery Series, and I will attach a photo here. Another really, really short read, and it had a pattern on the cover, and it worked. This is book 3 in this series, and it's basically like a cozy mystery series. This one had about mermaids going missing, and the series is fun. I don't think it's that memorable. I don't think it's the greatest series of all time, but it is a quick listen, and I had a fun time with it. And I'll probably save these for a bunch of readathons because they're super, super quick. So that is where we are. Again, nothing to write home about. I don't think it's my favorite series, but if I need something for a readathon, I will probably pick it up. And then the next book that I read, I think that this was for a book that had investigations in it, like a bonus book. So I read A Letter to the Luminous Deep by Sylvia Cottrell, and this was another cozy fantasy book that I struggled with. I really have been struggling with characters. This one I liked. I think that if I picked up the audiobook from the start, I think I would have had a little bit of a better time. Basically, it's like dual point of view because you follow 2 siblings that are trying to figure out what happened to their siblings because their siblings went missing or died. And they're kind of piecing together the letters and correspondences to kind of put away together. And then you also see these 2 characters falling in love. And again, because it's an epistolary romance, I don't think the characters felt that developed to me. Like, I didn't feel that connected. And I wonder if I would have listened to the whole audiobook if I would have liked it more. But I love this cover, so that is why I was reading it. And I wanted to like it. I don't know if it was more just like a me thing, but I only gave this book 4 stars. Cozy has not been hitting for me this month, I will say that. And then the next book that I read for a bonus prompt for a book with a number in the title is A Be Ma for Two by Trinity Nayoon, and this is a contemporary YA book. I like this. I gave this book 4 stars. I think this is probably one of my favorites that I read all month, other than Onyx Storm, and it was a contemporary book. It was a little bit short, so I don't think it would be a 5, but it basically followed these 2 characters, and they kind of meet in Vietnamese. They meet. One has a food truck and one is a writer, and they kind of team up to kind of fix their problems. One wants to find out about her grandparents or like her family in this end, and one wants to work for submit a writing for a competition, and they kind of team up. And it's a love story. It's really, really cute. It's really, really short. It's not even 250 pages. So I think the length of this hindered the story a little bit for me, but it was fun. It was quick, and I would definitely add it to more sapphic romances elements, and I had a fun time with it. Definitely my 3rd favorite of the month. And then the next book that I finished for a book with a journey is Keeper of the Lost Cities Unraveled by Shannon Messenger. I gave this book 4.5 stars. This is Keefi's story. This is Keefi's adventure at the end of Stellar Loon. What happens to him, his journey. You get some answers. You answer some questions. I don't think again, you were missing a lot of the side characters, but it was a very, very interesting book. Definitely a journey book, which for the prompt worked perfectly, and I gave this book 4.5 stars. I don't want to say too much, but this book is critical reading if you're going to read Keeper, because it does answer some questions. So I gave this book 4.5 stars. And then the last book I'm going to talk about in the series is where my ratings have kind of gone down a bit, because I have not been reading a ton. I've had a lot of focus issues. So I picked up Never Blow a Kiss by Lindsay Lovis. I'll attach a photo here. Like a Regency setting, and this is like a Regency romance that has like a spy element to it. And I like this story. I thought the story was interesting, but I just didn't feel that connected to the characters. And again, I've just been saying this. I feel like I'm just in like a slump, and I need a book that's gonna kind of like pull me. Like, this book had characters that I loved. I think I just need to like...
I can't. Go out there and say what she just did. Oh, because she was bored. Don't do that. What?
Sorry, but I think that I'm not feeling connected to any characters. So that is where it is. But I only gave that book 4 stars. I haven't had the best reading month at all. It's been a bit rough. I also am battling being sick and stuff like that. So I feel like I need to like...
Don't yell at her. I know what she did, Rita.
Feel like I need to like reread some old favorites, or like read a book of characters that I like and love, because I'm just not hitting. Nothing's hitting right now, which is unfortunate for me. But I have faith that it will get better, and I will be able to read some more. So yeah, that is where we are. I didn't read a ton. I haven't been watching a lot, to be honest with you. I finished watching Skeleton Crew, and that's really it. I just want to like... I feel like sometimes doing competitive readathons, I feel a little bit like stuck to what I have to read, honestly, because there's prompts. But yeah, that's where we're at. So let me know in the comments what you're currently reading. Maybe you can give me some recommendations, and I will talk to you guys soon for another video. Bye.